I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 30th. And that was a short-lived response to the cattle on feed report. We saw a nice bounce on Monday and then come in on Tuesday and they took all of it back. Maybe not all of it on the fall feeder cattle futures, but twice as much as we gained on live cattle, which shouldn't have gained anything on live cattle anyway. It was just bled over from the support on the feeder cattle, but that down market resumed just like we figured that it would, and you know, it was the June placements that sent this market into a tailspin. The July placements wasn't enough to help it, but we're still struggling and are going to be here on through the fall, I'm afraid. Look at your board. Live cattle futures October contract was down $2.27. Your August spot live cattle futures down 95 because it's got to mature here. It's the end of the month and it's time, and it's at 105 1/4. So that's a little over $1 under what the trade was last week, but doesn't bode well for this week's trade. Feeder cattle October contract down 287. The August feeder cattle up 17 cents actually, because it's got to come together too, albeit it's a cash settlement. But August is now ending the month here at 142.60. But you look at your new crop corn is now under $3.50 because it's looking like, despite all the rumors and the fears that we weren't going to have a decent crop, it looks like the American farmer is going to come across with another good crop, probably the third largest in history. But we haven't seen any fats trade so far this week. We can hope for steady. Steady would be a victory. Probably going to lose another $1 or $2, and like I've been saying here the whole summer, we lost that $1.10. I'm not sure where our trapeze is set up underneath now, because we just continue to drop. But our problem is we've got the heaviest supply of market ready fed cattle since 2013. I know that's not a long time back, but that was a lot of cattle ready then. But your box beef cutout values took a big dip, and then here the last couple of weeks after the seasonal fall off lost a little bit more ground. But you look here this past week, they had a huge supply of sales, the biggest we've seen for a long time, and good movement, good out front sales, good spot sales. Your packers are still making about $100 a head, so they can't complain. They're selling a lot of meat. You look on Monday and Tuesday, your box beef cutout values were strong. On Tuesday, higher on choice, sharply higher on select. Your choice select spread is less than $1 now. So that just goes to show you there's not a lot of demand for those most expensive middle meats here late in the summer. We should see that resume the closer we get to the end of the year and into the holidays, but that's what really drives your beef, is your most expensive loin cuts there, and we're just not seeing a lot of demand for those right now. And those are the ones that really make the difference on your grading, your choice or select. The rest of your meat, your roasts and ground beef and other cuts, it's not that big a deal really on your grading. But you look at your feeder cattle markets, real-time index is at 142.52, which is basically steady with Monday. On Tuesday it just lost 3 cents. But you look how close that is to what the feeder cattle board is for August at 142.60. It's just 8 cents off, where your CME feeder cattle index, which is what it's supposed to meet up with, is still running quite a bit ahead of that. But we feel good about this real-time index, and we think it's a good one to watch. But you look at some markets there on Tuesday. OKC West had their calf sale, about 1,200 head of calves, light run, 3 to 5 higher though. And then another market, West Plains, Missouri, Ozarks Regional Stockyard, 2,600 head. Their steers weighing under 600 pounds were $3 to $8 higher. I'm telling you that the conditions are so good down here in the southern plains, in the lower Midwest, There's just more grass, more places to turn cattle out than we've had for a long, long time. You look at the Texas Panhandle and Amarillo, the wettest August in history. You know, nothing to do with the hurricane and the flood or none of that, but just wet conditions all throughout. New Mexico looks like the Garden of Eden. Western Kansas is like a tropical rainforest, and all that matters. It's against these cattle guys' religion to have pastures and traps out there growed up without anything on them. And the conditions in the southern plains and the lower Midwest are going to keep lightweight stockers and replacement females relatively high well into the fall. But you know, it's not going to help your big heavy calves in the northern plains and the upper Midwest. They're going to have to wait until your farmer feeders get done with harvest, because the guys in the southern plains are not going to buy those giant things to turn out, and the guys that have the feedlots in the southern plains don't like to feed them either. But you look at some other trends out of West Plains there. Their heifers and their bigger steers, steer calves were steady to 5 higher. Some yearling feeder cattle $2 to $3 higher. You look at a market individual quote there up in the middle of the Midwest there, Clarinda, Iowa. Remember, I talked here just a couple weeks ago. We just added them on Beef Market Central, Cattle Market Central. We're glad to have them on there, and they're coming across with some nice quotes there. Clarinda, Iowa at 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday. 66 steers weighed 770 at 150 and a half. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.